Hello everybody, today I'm going to do a book review and I will be doing Death Masks by Jim Butcher, and it is book 5 of the Dresden Files. And basically what Jim Butcher has done here is taken some classical-ish elements and kind of made them unique, because these books are in no way like absolutely brilliant or um, I don't know how to explain it. They're nothing extremely special and unique, because he does take a lot of these other aspects and kind of creates his own thing, which it is unique, but it's not something entirely new. Um, Anyways, all I know is this series is really, really fun. I am enjoying it so far. Um, I'm on book 5 and it's still great. So we shall see how this continues. But anyways, Harry Dresden is a wizard, but the way he hires himself is very much like a detective or a private investigator. You can hire him to find paranormal stuff for you or do wizardy type things. Obviously he has rules, but other than that, he's like a wizard for hire. But he has this like kind of classic detective-like feel, except instead of being dark and brooding and whatnot, he's more witty and fun, and it's just he has a special thing going about him, and it's not like your classic detective, which is all dark like Max Payne. He's really funny, which makes this more fun than serious. But it works. It really works. I can't really compare it to anything right now, but that's Harry Dresden for you. And sometimes he works with the police or the law enforcement when he's not doing his own work. In this particular book, he's actually hired by an outside person. He's not working for the police. So in this particular book, something is stolen, and it is a shroud, and it was like the shroud used to bury Jesus, and so it has a lot of magical aspects about it. I was going to say elements, but then I decided to say aspects. But anyways, if you are religious in the way that you believe in Jesus, you might be offended by the way they take a lot of biblical elements and turn it into something magical. Or you might think it's really, really awesome, so it depends on your perception on how serious you take your religion. It's no way made light of, but it is taken um, into magical context, and it's a bit, I would say, a Harry Dresden and his magic's a bit more occultish than natural, like in wizards from, I don't know, Pathfinder or Forgotten Realms, or, well, D&D, I always say Forgotten Realms, but, um, those magics seem more natural. These ones are a bit more occultish kind of magic. So it depends on where you stand with your religion. I know my mom would throw a fit. So anyways, in this particular book, there's that. He's hired to find the shroud, and a lot of creepy things start happening. Um, and I think the aspects he took, the biblical aspects, was really interesting. And of course, when there's something biblical involved, the Knights of the Cross show up, and we already met one of them in the previous books, which is Michael. And I just love Michael. He's like your typical paladin, but we also meet the two other knights, because there's a knight for each nail of the cross, because each sword is imbued with a nail from the cross. So they get involved, and you meet all of them, and they're really interesting. I'd say the Asian one is very stereotypical, but they're interesting. I think Michael's the best, because he's very much like a paladin and very much like a knight, which, if you don't know what a paladin, you know. um, Also, we have those loose ends from before, where Harry Dresden got in a bunch of trouble with the vampires of the Red Court. there's a bunch of vampire courts. There's typically 3, but you find out there's some underground ones. But anyways, so some loose ends turn up in this book, and he has to duel a vampire of the Red Court, and also Susan turns up, which happens to be his girlfriend, or I don't know if you'd call her his ex-girlfriend, but she shows up, and she has this hunger because she got bitten, and if you actually you don't turn into a vampire right away, but as soon as you feed on someone, that's when you become a vampire. So she still is in the hunger phase. She hasn't fully turned, but she shows up, and her storyline gets interesting, and um, so yeah, she helps Harry a lot, um, and a bunch of just things start turning up that it just all starts connecting. Um, I don't think the Shroud and the vampires actually connect in this book. I think those are 2 different storylines, or story plots, whatever. And that's interesting because this happens a lot. It's very much like a TV show where you get like the main story, what's going on, like the problem, but you also have the problems of the main characters going on at the same time. So it's like Harry Dresden, he's doing this, finding the shroud. That's his objective. That's what he was hired to do. But you also have Harry Dresden's personal life going on, which happens to involve vampires and his half vampire girlfriend. So, well, not half vampire, but semi vampire in the process of turning. Um, so, she's not going to just turn, she has to feed. But, anyways, it does get very interesting. Um, I had a little bit of trouble with this book, but not because um, the book's fault. I think it was because I hadn't picked up this book in a long time, therefore I kind of got lost with the pacing. It does go from like slow to fast a lot. He kind of, when action happens, he kind of blows through the action, which could be good for some people, might be bad for some people. I myself, I'm not an action person. I'm more of a story type of person. So Harry does, Jim Butcher's writing style is perfect for me, at least for the Dresden Files. So anyways, that's what happens here in this book. I'm not giving away any of the endings. Something sad does happen in this book, but it was in that honorable kind of sad sense. I really don't want to explain it without giving, because it'll give too much away, but it was a really good solid book. It fit in with the rest of the series. Currently I'm like pretty much done with the second book, and I wanted to get this done as soon as possible because the books are really similar, especially when you're getting into Harry Dresden's life. So I really did not want to get those 2 books mixed up. So that was this. If you haven't checked out the Dresden Files, I highly suggest you do, especially if you're into more modern type books rather than the old-fashioned like castles and knights and whatnot, or you just want to step away from that. This is a really good relief from your typical fantasy, and it's really interesting. I've never really read anything like this, except maybe I think I'd compare it to Dean Koontz' Odd Thomas books, except, you know, I don't know. That's what I would compare it to. And the Odd Thomas books, if you haven't read them, are really awesome. But here we go. Death Masks by Jim Butcher. If you haven't read the Dresden Files, check it out. Right now I'm going to jump off my bed and turn off the webcam, so thank you for your time. Bye.